The sky turned red the moment the first ship broke through the clouds. No warning came, no declaration. Just thunder, then fire. The forest trembled beneath the weight of something ancient, powerful and hungry for destruction. Kai was only supposed to pass through. A human mercenary, born far from this part of the galaxy, just doing a scout run through the elven woods. He had no orders to fight. He had no reason to get involved. Until he saw her, she wasn't hiding. She stood right in the middle of the path, green skin glowing under the burning sky. Red hair wild like fire, eyes wide with shock. Her hand held a curved blade, but it shook. She was scared, but ready to defend. Then the bolt came. A red beam shot from above, scorching the tree behind her. She ducked, barely. That was all it took for Kai's instincts to kick in. He rolled from cover, gun in hand, and returned fire. It didn't matter that she wasn't human. He didn't ask what side she was on. He only saw someone about to die. The attackers weren't just machines. They were engineered hunters, tall and insect-like, bred to kill. One leaped from the sky. Its blade aimed straight at her. Kai didn't think. He dove between them and took the hit across his back. Blood sprayed, but he stayed on his feet. She looked at him like he was insane, but she didn't step back. Instead, she turned and slashed at the enemy behind him. Together, they dropped the hunter. Together, they survived the first wave. And then the second came. More of them swarmed in from the east, tearing through the trees. Kai grabbed the elf's arm and pulled her behind a fallen trunk. "Name?" he asked quickly. She blinked, confused, then whispered, "Sira. Sira." "I'm Kai," he said. "Stay close if you want to live." She nodded, still gripping her blade like it was the last thing that connected her to life. They fought side by side for hours. Sira knew the land. Kai knew war. Her quick steps guided them through the shifting trees, while his weapon cut down everything that followed. Their breaths sensed. Their eyes met often. Trust was built fast between wounds and explosions. By sunset, they were bleeding and surrounded. A drone hovered above. It fired. Kai pushed her again and took another arrow meant for her. This time it stuck deep in his shoulder. He gritted his teeth and stood tall anyway. Sira screamed at him to stop. "You can't keep protecting me," she cried. He didn't respond. He just kept walking, pulling her with him. Pain bent his body, but his legs refused to fall. The mission had changed. He no longer cared about pay or politics. He was protecting her now, and he would not let her go. They found a half-buried tunnel entrance beneath a mossy rock. Sira used her elven rune to unlock it. The door hissed open. Darkness welcomed them. Kai nearly collapsed from blood loss, but Sira caught him, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. Inside the tunnel, the air was cold. Sira lit a faint blue flame on her palm to guide the way. Every step they took echoed. Kai's armor was heavy with blood. His breath was shallow. But still, he kept walking. Sira finally made him stop. She tore off part of her cloak and pressed it to his wounds. Her hands trembled, but her voice was calm. "You saved me." "Twice. Why?" she asked. Kai leaned back against the wall and looked at her, even through the blur of pain. "Because you were standing alone. And because no one should die alone." She didn't answer. She just looked at him for a long time. Her eyes softened. Her anger faded. Something else took its place. Something deeper, above them. The war still raged. But in that quiet, dark tunnel, something new had begun. A bond, forged not by species or orders, but by sacrifice. The tunnel stretched deep under the forest floor. It was narrow, damp, and cold. The walls were carved with ancient marks that pulsed faintly as they walked. Sira said nothing for a long time. Her hand stayed close to Kai's side, supporting him when his legs began to shake. Kai had lost a lot of blood. He didn't complain. He just clenched his teeth and kept moving. Every few steps, his vision blurred. But whenever he looked at her, he kept going. Finally, the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber lit by glowing roots from the ceiling. It was a sacred elven shelter, lost for years. Sira had only heard of it in old stories. But somehow she had led them right to it. Kai collapsed the moment they stepped inside. Sira caught him before he hit the floor. She gently laid him against a soft patch of moss. He groaned but kept his eyes open. "I need to take the arrows out," she whispered. Kai didn't respond. His chest rose slowly, breath shallow. She moved fast. Her hands shook, but she forced herself to stay steady. She had never treated a human wound before. One arrow was lodged deep in his back. The other was still stuck in his shoulder. Sira gripped the shaft and pulled. Kai screamed once, but then bit down on his own glove to stop himself. Blood ran freely down his armor. She pressed both hands against his wound. Her fingers glowed green. Elven magic flowed into his skin. Slowly, the blood stopped. Slowly, his breath grew stronger. "You're not like other humans," she said while working. "They don't protect elves. They don't bleed for us." Kai opened his eyes. "Maybe they should." Sira froze at his words. Then she nodded and placed a hand on his chest. Her expression changed. She was no longer just healing him. She was seeing him. He passed out not long after. His body needed rest. But even in sleep, his fingers twitched like he was still fighting. Sira sat beside him, silent, guarding him through the night. By morning, sounds returned to the tunnel. Distant booms echoed from above. The war hadn't ended. But something had shifted in the forest. The invaders were searching underground now. Sira leaned close and shook Kai awake. His eyes opened quickly, alert. Pain still lingered, but he was stronger. "He could move. We have to go deeper," she said. "They'll find this place soon." Kai nodded. He stood up slowly, grabbing a thick root for balance. His wounds were sealed, but his muscles ached with every breath. They followed a narrow path deeper into the roots. The walls closed in. Strange sounds filled the passage, whispers, old magic, memories buried in the earth. Sira walked ahead now, confident, her bare feet silent on the ground. Kai limped behind her. His armor scraped against stone. His blood had dried, his body scarred, but his spirit refused to break. After what felt like hours, the path opened into a massive underground grove. Trees grew sideways along the ceiling. Water trickled from glowing stones. And at the center stood a giant crystalline structure, pulsing with life. Sira gasped. "This is the Heartwood, the forest's soul. I thought it was just a legend." Before they could move closer, the air shifted. Shadows slithered between the trees. The enemy had followed them. Somehow they had tracked Kai's blood. Sira raised her blade. "They're here." Kai stepped forward, still wounded, but fearless. He reached for his rifle and aimed toward the dark. This time, she stepped in front of him. "You already took the arrows meant for me. Let me take the next hit." Kai's voice was calm but firm. "Not while I'm still breathing." They stood together again, side by side, guarding the Heartwood as the enemy closed in. Two different beings, one purpose, one vow. The moment the shadows moved, Kai took position behind a thick root wall. His eyes scanned every motion, his rifle steady. Blood still stained his armor, but his grip was unshaken. Sira stood at his side with her blade drawn. Her chest rose and fell quickly. The Heartwood pulsed behind them, glowing brighter with each step the enemy took closer. They came fast. Long limbs, sharp claws. Black armor that shimmered like whetstone. These weren't drones. These were the elite hunters. Kai fired first. His shot hit the lead creature in the chest. It staggered but kept moving. Sira dashed forward and sliced its neck cleanly. Its body hit the ground without a sound. More followed. 5, 10, then more behind them. The grove turned into a battlefield of roots, crystal light, and blood. Kai and Sira fought like they had trained together for years. She moved like wind, fast and silent. He moved like stone, strong and unyielding. Wherever one fell back, the other stepped in. A claw slashed across Kai's side. He grunted and fired back. A beast tried to jump Sira, but Kai tackled it mid-air. He rolled, crushed it under his weight, and stood again. Every breath hurt. Every motion burned. But he did not stop. Sira's voice rang through the grove. She called to the heartwood in her native tongue. The glowing crystal behind them responded. Vines rose from the ground and wrapped around the legs of their attackers. The tide shifted. The forest itself began to fight beside them. Roots lashed out. Trees closed their trunks. Creatures screamed and fell, but it wasn't over. One last figure stepped forward from the dark. It was taller, armored in black and red, with eyes like burning coal. The leader, Kai, steadied his rifle. Sira narrowed her eyes. The creature raised a blade that pulsed with dark energy. Without warning, it charged. Kai fired, but the shot bounced off. Sira jumped to meet the blade mid-swing. Sparks flew. The clash knocked her back. The creature raised its sword to strike. Her again. Kai moved in between. He took the blow full in the chest. His armor cracked. He dropped to one knee but refused to fall. Sira screamed and launched herself at the enemy. Her blade pierced under its chin. The creature shrieked and crumbled into ash. Silence filled the grove. The last of them had fallen. Only the sound of Kai's breath and the soft hum of the heartwood remained. Sira dropped her weapon and rushed to him. Blood covered his chest. She pressed her hands to his wound, but the magic flickered weakly. "You're not dying here," she whispered. "Not for me." Kai smiled weakly. "I'd do it again." Tears fell down her cheeks. Her magic was fading. She looked around and saw the heartwood's glow dimming too. It had spent its energy to protect them, but there was still one way. One sacred, forbidden way. A life bond. An ancient elven rite that joined souls. If performed, it could share strength, heal, but it was irreversible. Sira looked at Kai. He was barely conscious. But she made her choice, not out of duty, out of something deeper. Something true. She placed her hand on his chest and whispered the vow. Light burst from her fingers, weaving into his skin. Her energy flowed into him. Her essence became his. Kai gasped as the pain faded. The wound closed. His heartbeat grew steady. He opened his eyes and looked at her with wonder. "What did you do?" he asked. "I made sure every scar meant something." They sat in silence, the heartwood glowing softly once more. Something had changed inside both of them. A bond now lived where pain once ruled. Kai stood slowly, his breathing calm now. The pain that once ruled his body had faded, replaced by a warm energy that pulsed through his chest. He looked down at his hands, then at Sira, confused but alive. Sira avoided his gaze. Her cheeks were flushed. She turned away and walked to the heartwood, her fingers brushing across the glowing crystal bark. It still pulsed faintly, but it was clear the ancient tree was tired. "What did you do?" Kai asked again. Sira didn't turn. A soulbend. "You would have died. I shared my life with you." He took a step closer. His voice was softer now. "Will you die because of it?" She finally looked at him. "No, but things will never be the same. Part of me lives in you now, and part of you lives in me." They both stood in silence. The moment was heavy. Not with sorrow, but with something sacred. Something neither of them fully understood yet. Kai wasn't sure what to say. He wasn't a man of magic or rituals. He only knew how to survive. But now he owed her more than survival. He walked beside her and placed his hand on hers. "Thank you," she nodded, then pulled away gently. "We need to leave. The Heartwood is safe for now, but the war above isn't over." They packed what little they had. Kai reloaded his weapon and tightened his armor. The cracks from the battle were still there, but they felt lighter. Like something stronger now held him together. Sira summoned a small light orb that floated ahead to guide them. The path behind the Heartwood twisted deeper underground, into the roots of the planet itself. Hours passed in silence. Strange echoes danced around them. Whispers in old languages. Faint memories of ancient guardians who once protected these tunnels. Finally, the path ended at a circular chamber with a carved stone platform at its center. The air shimmered with quiet energy. In the middle was a spiral gateway, an ancient transport device lost to time. Sira stepped forward and pressed her palm to the runes. The platform lit up slowly, layer by layer, until the gate began to hum. Kai raised his weapon instinctively. "Where does it go?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But anywhere is better than here. The hunters will return. The forest will not protect us again." He hesitated. He didn't like stepping into the unknown. But then he looked at her again. At the tired strength in her eyes. At the mark on his chest where her life now lived. "I trust you," he said. She smiled for the first time since the war began. "Then come with me." They stepped onto the platform together. The light swirled around them like wind made of stars. The ground vanished. The forest disappeared. The pain, the blood, the screams all were left behind. In an instant, they were somewhere else. Not a battlefield, not a ruin, but a cliffside temple hanging above a silver sea. The air was calm. The sky was soft with violet clouds. Sira looked around in awe. "This place is sacred. I've only seen it in dreams." Kai dropped to one knee, exhausted from the jump. She rushed to his side again, her hand on his shoulder. "I'm all right," he said, "just tired, not hurt." She helped him stand. Together, they walked into the ancient structure. Strange runes glowed on the walls. The floor was smooth, untouched by time. And in the center stood something unexpected, a statue of a human and an elf, side by side, holding a single blade. Kai stared at it. "What is this?" Sira stepped forward, reading the ancient marks below. "It's a prophecy. 2 souls. 1 bond. The blade that ends the last war." They looked at each other again. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was destiny. The wind over the silver sea was gentle. It carried a peaceful hum that made the air feel alive. Kai stood still in front of the statue, his hand brushing against the cold stone blade. Sira studied the carvings again. The prophecy was older than her people. It spoke of a human and an elf bonded by pain, who would bring an end to a war that was never supposed to begin. "We didn't come here by accident," she said quietly. "This was calling to us." Kai looked around the temple. There were no doors, no guards, just silence and truth. His instincts didn't scream danger. They whispered purpose. Behind the statue, a small stone altar began to glow. A soft golden ring hovered above it, pulsing with ancient power. Sira walked toward it slowly. "What is that?" Kai asked. "The ring of accord," she replied. "It's part of the ritual. It seals a true bond between warriors. It chooses only those who have bled together for more than survival." Kai stepped beside her. He didn't know what the ritual would mean, but he knew what they had faced. What they had already given each other. His scars were proof. Sira reached out and touched the ring. It rose higher and split into 2 glowing halves. One hovered to her. The other moved to Kai. He hesitated only a moment. Then he raised his hand and allowed it to settle on his palm. It sank into his skin without pain. Only warmth followed. The temple shifted. The statue glowed. Runes flared across the walls. The prophecy was no longer a story. It had begun. Suddenly the sky outside darkened. Sira rushed to the temple's edge and gasped. Ships, dozens of them. The enemy had followed the trail of Kai's energy again. They were descending on the island fast. They're here, she sighed. Kai stepped forward and looked at the sky filled with metal and fire. Then we fight, Sira nodded. But we don't fight alone anymore. As the ships came closer, the sea below began to churn. Energy from the temple fed into the ocean. Storm clouds gathered. Lightning danced between the clouds and the water. The island was waking up. From the base of the cliffs, ancient towers rose. They had been buried for centuries, but now they returned to life. Their tops opened with blue fire. Weapons of a forgotten age pointed skyward. Sira grabbed her blade. Kai checked his rifle. Their rings glowed with light that matched the towers. They had become part of the temple's defense. The first ship fired a plasma blast. The energy shot screamed toward the island. A tower responded and struck it mid-air. The sky lit up with the explosion. A second ship fell before reaching land. More were coming, too many. Kai looked to Sira. We can't stop them all. Sira raised her blade and placed the tip against the glowing statue. The runes responded. A hidden door opened beneath their feet, revealing a long shaft lined with gold. What's this? Kai asked. The chamber of the twin soul blade, she said. Only bondmates can summon it. If we do, we may have one chance to stop their leader before the full army lands. Kai grinned. Then let's go. One chance is all I need. They stepped onto the platform and were lowered into the heart of the temple. The deeper they went, the brighter the runes burned. The power around them grew stronger. It wasn't magic. It was a memory waiting to be claimed. At the bottom, a massive stone door blocked the chamber. It had no handle. Only a place for two hands. Sira placed hers on the left. Kai placed his on the right. The door trembled, then slowly opened. Inside was a single weapon, a blade made of living crystal. Its edge shimmered with fire and light. The twin soul blade. It floated in the air, waiting. Sira looked at Kai. He gave a short nod. They stepped forward and reached out together. The blade split in two, forming twin weapons. One glided into Kai's grip. The other flew to Sira's hand. The room filled with white light. The bond was complete. The blade pulsed with energy as soon as it touched their hands. It didn't feel like metal. It felt alive. Like the weapon itself had waited for them to arrive. Kai looked at his half of the blade. It was lighter than any weapon he had held before, but he could feel its power. It hummed through his bones. His scars burned, but not with pain. They glowed like they remembered why they existed. Sira's grip was firm. Her blade reacted to her thoughts, shifting shape. As she moved, it curved like her original sword, but now it left streaks of light in the air. She smiled quietly, her eyes locked on Kai's. The chamber trembled above. Explosions shook the ceiling. The enemy had begun landing forces on the island. They had little time. They ran back to the upper temple. The platform rose quickly, carrying them through the tunnel of runes. As they rose, their blades lit up the passage, guiding their way back to the war. Outside, towers fired again. 3 ships fell from the sky, crashing into the sea. But more arrived. Hundreds of enemy soldiers now marched on the cliffs. The island had become a battlefield. Kai reached the top and charged forward. His blade cut through the first wave of enemy soldiers like they were made of smoke. Sira followed, fast and precise. Their weapons moved like they knew each other. Like they were 2 halves of the same force. No enemy could match them. The bond between them gave them strength beyond training. Each move was answered with another. Each strike defended as one. Then the sky darkened again. The largest ship of all appeared. A floating fortress with black markings. The leader was here. From the fortress descended a creature covered in obsidian armor. Its presence made the ground tremble. It carried a weapon of dark matter and shadows. Its eyes locked onto Sira. "That's him," she said. "He leads them all." Kai stepped beside her. "Then we finish this here," the leader roared. He charged, and the land split beneath his steps. He swung his weapon with brutal force. Sira blocked the blow. Kai countered from the side. Their blades struck together. Sparks flew. The battle was not fast, it was fierce. The leader's strength bent stone and melted metal, but he was not bonded. He was not whole. Kai and Sira were. Each time he struck, they moved as one. Each time he roared, they answered with silence and steel. The enemy army tried to approach, but the twin soul blade created a barrier around the temple. None could enter, wounded but unshaken. Kai forced the leader back with a final surge. Sira leaped high, her blade glowing brighter than the sun. She came down hard, slicing through the enemy commander's weapon and striking deep into his chest. The leader staggered. Black smoke poured from his armor. He fell to his knees. Kai stepped forward and thrust his blade through the final joint. In the armor, the creature froze, then collapsed into dust. A sudden silence fell across the cliffs. The army below stopped. Their leader was gone. The magic that held them together shattered. They broke and scattered like leaves in wind. The sky cleared. The sea calmed. The island was saved. Sira fell to her knees, exhausted. Her blade faded back into light. Kai dropped beside her and held her close. Their bond pulsed warmly between them. They had done it together. She looked at him and whispered, "You didn't have to take those arrows." Kai nodded. "And you didn't have to give up your soul. But I'm glad we did." Above them, the heartwood reappeared in the sky, floating gently. It cast light down on them, as if giving its final blessing. Days passed since the final battle. The island had become quiet. The wind carried no screams, only soft waves brushing the shore. The temple remained standing, its walls glowing faintly in peace. Kai sat at the edge of the cliff, staring out at the sea. His armor was gone. His body bore fresh scars. But there was peace in his chest. Not from the battle, but from what came after. Sira joined him, silent as ever. Her steps were lighter now. She sat beside him and rested her hand on his. The bond between them still pulsed. Not as magic, not as power, but as life. Each breath they took felt shared. "They asked me to return," she said. "My people. They want me back to lead the next council." Kai turned to her. "And will you go?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, but only if you come with me." He smiled, eyes fixed on the horizon. "A human at an elven council. That will cause trouble." Sira leaned closer. "Then we'll face that trouble together." Below them, the sea shimmered. The remains of the enemy fleet had sunk into the depths. Nature had begun to reclaim what war had stolen. Sira stood and offered her hand. "There's a ship waiting on the far shore. It can take us to the new lands. A place where bonds like ours aren't feared." Kai looked up at her. He remembered the arrows, the blood, the pain, and how she had answered it all with her soul. He took her hand without hesitation. They walked side by side down the path toward the shore. Birds flew above them. The air smelled of clean wind and green life. Peace wasn't something they found. It was something they earned. At the beach, a small craft waited. It shimmered like the temple, made from the same crystal light. As they stepped aboard, the water parted around them, forming a gentle path to the open world. As they drifted away, the island slowly faded behind them. The heartwood let out one final beam into the sky before vanishing into the wind. Kai looked at Sira. She looked back. No words were needed. The scars on his body would never fade. But now, every one of them meant something greater than pain. They meant survival, sacrifice, love, and for the rest of their days, he would carry those marks proudly, not as wounds, but as the story of how she saved him by letting him save her. The bond was eternal. And so were they.